guitar, I used my Dean here. It's a kind of Gibson copy. The guitar itself has a good sound, really good sustain, and it produces a variety of sounds because it has these push-pulls here. And when they're down, you got humbuckers, and then when they're up, the humbuckers turn into split coils, so you get like a single kind of sound. So there's a variety of sounds I can get here through combinations and stuff. So that wasn't a problem getting the sound. However, playing the instrument was a little hard because it's got 11s on here, and I'm used to playing 10s when I'm soloing especially. I had 11s on because I had been doing a session for a friend of mine called Jason Chiwa for his album Glorify. Check it out, it's on iTunes. Sometimes when you're doing rhythm work, I like to dig in, I can only feel it with heavier strings like 11s or 12s, and then I go back to 10s when I'm soloing. So it had 11s for the recording sessions, and when it came to do this cover, now I had to do the lead in Purple Rain, and it was just like really tough. When it comes to bending on the 20th fret, it becomes a little bit tricky to do that repeatedly. You start to feel it because, unless you're Steve Ray Vaughan, and I'm not Steve Ray Vaughan. But, with practice, I got kind of used to it, and at least enough in those few days to perform the solo. It didn't change the sound very much, but it changed my playing. A lot of people complain about this string or that gauge sounds like this gauge. I'm quite skeptical whether gauges have a sound, but perhaps it's more how you feel when you're playing. Certainly, I don't think that the sound changed of the strings themselves, but my playing when I was trying to do leads on 11s was quite different. Like I had a different approach, especially on the bends. It just felt different. But for the rhythm guitar part, no, it was totally okay, no problem at all. So I used Guitar Rig in here and didn't really use pedals, except I used this mini tube screamer here. I think you can see it perhaps. So that it could cut out some lack of clarity in the low mids and scoop out some of those things. And I tried to use the software tube screamer within Guitar Rig, this one here. But even though the controls are the same, it just didn't sound like this. And of course, if I take time, I'm sure it can, but I really didn't have that time, and I know how to get what I need from this very quickly. So it was easier to just use this on the way in and have a certain particular sound. That sound was coming in already a bit hairy, and then I put it through some compression here, through this distortion, which is a little bit, I think, a reflection of the SD1. It kind of sounds like it. I tried a bit of fuzz, but it was making it too unclear. By driving this a bit more, I could get more distortion that starts to sound a bit like almost going into fuzz. And this emulation of, speaker and microphone, I just played around with this to make it sound as real as possible. Worked on some delay. I didn't have as many repeats as you can hear in the original Purple Rain. It was getting a little bit muddy in my own mix. So I kind of pulled back on it. And I also had some EQ here to bump up some brightness. I bumped it up here to kind of make it stand out in the mix. And so let's have a listen to that. You can hear the delay. I would have liked to have maybe 4 repeats dying away, but it was making it very unclear so that you can hear the actual notes. So I think I would have had to take a little bit more time to get the right kind of delay for this. And I think that's pretty much it. Then there is this folder, which I called Lisa. Lisa Coleman was a pianist and a keyboard player in The Revolution. And so in here, I've got the piano and an EP, and the EP stroke pad. And if I play that sound, you can hear what it's like. It's a kind of like padded EP sound there. And then this one is like a clean acoustic piano. So I basically just played exactly the same thing, left it in MIDI form, but I have both sounds together, and when if you hear them play together, it will sound thick. Because the piano is a little bit brighter and it's got like that attack, and then the EP and pad has this other softness and mellow ethereal feel to it. For the piano sound, I used the Addictive Keys. I had it tweaked a bit where the timbre was a little bit brighter by changing this item here so that it doesn't get buried by the pad. For the EP stroke pad, I used the Roland Super JV software synth. This is an emulation of the classic JV 1080, which was like the thing to have like in the 1990s. It was the ish. But it has really good sounds from those days, and it shows really how good it was because you can use some of these sounds today still. I already knew this patch, which is called West Coast. Patch number 11, I just had to slam this on and I knew exactly what it would sound like. And there's another track here, which is muted. It says Piano Guide, and it's exactly what it says it is. This was the first thing that I played because when I first learned this song, I learned it on piano and I kind of like feel it well on the keys. So I played a Piano Guide, and I used that to play the rhythm guitar, the drums, and then build the track and so on and so forth. So originally, this is all I had with a click track. Let me put the click on. So yeah, so that is what I used to actually to guide me through the track to play it. And once it was done, I muted this and then played these two. I left them in MIDI form because I thought I might have to change the sound. But when it came to the mix, I felt there was no need anymore to do that. It was sounding cool, so I left it. It's worth noting that when I play keyboards, I really don't like to do quantization because it sometimes removes the intentional anticipation within one's playing or laid back feeling that you might have put into a song. So for example, in this song, I'm playing the keys a little bit behind the bit in the verses and then more in time in the chorus. If you quantize something like that, it kind of loses flavor. And you can see it here that if I play so like that kind of flavor, it feels more natural and more free. But when you quantize it, it kind of like gets a bit too machine-like and it loses something for me. So I very, very rarely, if ever, quantize stuff, especially something like this. I just don't. I found it useful to do this video at this time. The fact that I've done the follow-up months after the original recording means like I'm kind of removed from it, so I was able to kind of like be a bit objective and kind of appreciate what I managed to do, because at the time after I'd done it I wasn't that pleased with it, but now I'm kind of like okay, that given the constraints that I had, I'm kind of okay with what it turned out to be. It has re-emphasized the notion to me that you don't necessarily have to have everything there exactly in the way that you need it in order for you to do what you need to do, because you know I didn't have the drum kit that I wanted, or at least the drum kit was quite poor, skins were bad. Then the microphones was certainly not what I would have used. I wouldn't have thought of using like an ASM58 on a kick drum, but I did and managed to get something good. So now I know that I can use it. If it comes to it, I know I can use it. So there are benefits to like being pushed into a corner to do something in an uncomfortable way or in a way that you're not used to. So that is that. And I hope you found this useful. Look out for the next episode of Painting with Notes, where I'll be doing an Al Green song. And I hope my voice can like make it. In the meantime, subscribe, like, and share. Yeah, I'll see you next time. Take care now. Bye.